I, Shalom, want to begin his lesson by giving all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bashem Yahweh Shah, Wahar Rakah Kwadash, which in the ancient Hebrew tongue would be the correct names of the Heavenly Father, His beloved Son, and the Holy Spirit. I also would like to give double honors to my teachers, the head apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Much due honors and respect to the sincere brethren out there that's also laboring in His work. And as always, I want to say shalom to the believers, the Akim as well as the Aquab, which will be you brothers along with the sisters that subscribe to this truth as well. So yeah, the topic of this lesson right here is going to be centered around slavery, oppression, captivity, bondage, whatever you want to call it, all of the above, which when you consider the idea of slavery, that's actually an entity, that was created by Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shah. The house of bondage is nothing more than a permanent fixture here on the planet Earth. The only thing that changes is the tenants, you see? And what you're witnessing right now with the so-called Negro, Latino, and Native American, which is indeed the biblical Israelites, well, you are being evacuated, if you will, from this house of bondage. But guess what? This doesn't mean the house of bondage is going to go unoccupied. No, you're going to have new tenants to come in and occupy this house of bondage. And it's going to be you other nations, and in particular, the so-called white man. Matter of fact, let's start off with that real quick. The book of Isaiah, the 14th chapter, and the 2nd verse. It says, "And the people shall take them and bring them to their place, and the house of Israel shall possess them in the land of the Lord for servants and handmaids," which is another word for slaves, man. See? "And they shall take them captives, whose captives they were, and they shall rule over their oppressors." Yeah, and who are these captives who we going to take captive? Or these who oppressed us, who we going to oppress? It's going to be the so-called white man, see? Which proves that the house of bondage, the spirit of captivity and slavery, or people being in subjection, will always rest on the planet Earth. You see, here it is now when the so-called Negro, Latino, and Native American is being comforted by the gospel of peace, in the scriptures confirming that we're about to be liberated. And you think these devils is going to just go scot-free all of a sudden when we are exalted and when we come into our kingdom, in power, then now all of a sudden everything becomes an equal playing field. But when these different nations, had their time to rule, well, it was at the expense of Israel, man. Because when you go into the history, at one point in time or another, all these different nations had us in the captivity, man. And the most recent and most famous captivity was under the foot of these devils who dealt very treacherously with us, man. So now all of a sudden, when we're about to come into our kingdom, it's going to be a level playing field. No, okay? That spirit of captivity and slavery and oppression will always be here. So when we come into power, we're going to have subjects, those under our foot, man, starting with you so-called white people. So the house of bondage will always be here. The only thing is going to change is the tenants, man. So you other nations, starting with the so-called white man, is about to occupy the house of bondage. See that? And we're going to be the landlords, if you will. You see? And this is a message that the so-called white man wants no part of. That's why you see information like this, removing slavery from textbooks, man. This is the campaign of the so-called white man. They feel in their warped mind that if somehow they could just cover up and suppress the information of slavery, then it'll just all go away like a bad dream. And they feel as if they have the resources to do so. And they feel as if they can accomplish this feat, then they won't have to be held accountable for what happened to our people. But guess what? The Spirit of the Lord is on the prophets to continue to chip away and bring this information out, man. All right? No matter how much you and your feeble attempts, try to take away this truth, okay, of slavery actually existing. See? So it says removing slavery from textbooks. It says earlier this academic year, it says Ronnie Dean Burren, a Houston mother, posted on Facebook in a response to a passage in her 9th grade son's history book, which referred to slaves not as slaves, but as workers and immigrants. See? And that's what they're trying to push out there. They're trying to push out that narrative, man, that, our people came over here, according to their own will. They wasn't forced over here. They came over here to, create a soft landing for their kids. They was looking for work. They came over here as workers and damn immigrants, man. And these devils, this shows and this proves that these are the same devils who distorted history, man. That's why, for an example, the image of our Lord Yahushua, the image of the patriarchs of the Bible, our forefathers, Abraham, Moses, King David, they're all depicted as so-called white people. Because this is the same approach they had back then, the same mentality, where they distorted history and they presented something else to you, man. See? So let's just say, even though we know that this place probably don't have another 3 years, okay? But let's just say, for argument's sake, this place was to continue on another 20, 30, 40 years, then guess what? You wouldn't even know that slavery existed. You'd think that your people came over here, just for work and as immigrants. See, so that proves that these are the same devils that distorted history. So when we tell you that, let's say, when you go back to certain guys like Socrates, and we tell you, hey, look, those was Jakes. Well, you should believe that, man. Why? Because this devil is responsible for bringing forth lies and deception. And this is what he done ever since he came out of the pit, pursuant to the book of Revelation, the 20th chapter. All right, how this devil will come out of the pit and he would deceive the nations, man. And this is a part of his jacket. This is a part of his MO right here, man. Okay? Along with the sword being, his instincts, his gift and his blessing. Well, the spirit of deception. This man instinctively have to deceive and lie. So really, when you go into the source and the motivation, the driving force behind these devils attempting to take slavery out of the memory of the people, is because they don't want to be held accountable. They understand precepts like this, man, and due in part to the prophets by we drilling this point home. See, this is Revelation, the 13th chapter, and starting at the 9th verse. If any man have an ear, let him hear. Meaning, if you have understanding, then good for you. Understand, all right? Because everybody out there don't have an ear. And this is not physically, this is spiritually. See? It says, he that leadeth into captivity, see? He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. And we just read that in Isaiah the 14th chapter. How the children of Israel is going to take captive the very ones whose captives we were. And we're going to oppress and rule over the very ones who oppressed us. We're going to have in subjection the very devils that have us in subjection to this very day, man. We're going to have under the foot the very ones who downtrodden us, man. See that? And that's what you call justice right there, man. See? It says, he that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. See? He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. Here is the patience and the faith of the saints. Meaning, we heard this message and we faithfully waiting on this to be fulfilled. We believe that Yahweh Bashim Yahushua is going to bring justice. He's going to step in on our behalf. And this gives credence to the idea of slavery not going anywhere. No matter how much you devils want to take it out of the history books. You see, you want to distort that history and somehow attempt to escape your judgment, man. No, slavery is not going anywhere, man. Okay? In fact, the kingdom of heaven is going to be a rigorous rule. And we're going to have slaves, the very essence of the kingdom of heaven, it's going to be like a factory, man. Straight up. The kingdom of heaven is going to be a lot of working, man. Because you devils is going to build up the kingdom of heaven, man. As well as you other nations. See? And this is the promise that was given to the very one who is going to be spearheading and leading the charge, and that's Yahushua. Matter of fact, let's go to that real quick in the book of our Psalms, the 2nd chapter, and starting at the 8th verse. And this is the Heavenly Father speaking to his son, Yahushua. All right? It says, ask of me, and I shall give thee the heathen for thine inheritance. And who is the heathen? The other nations, starting with Esau. The Lord said he's going to give Yahushua the heathen for his inheritance. So this is heavy when you check it out, right? Because Yahweh know all things. So he said, ask of me and I shall give thee the heathen for thine inheritance. So why did he say that? Because he know this is what Yahweh shall want, man. You're not going to tell your son, hey, ask of me and I'm going to give you that Xbox when your son wanted a bike. You know? You're going to say, ask of me and I'm going to give you that bike because I know that's what you want. See, that's what Yahweh was saying here. He know that Yahweh shall want these heathens as his slaves because that's the signet of a king. One who has power, he's going to have subjects. How in the hell are you going to have power and you're not going to have anybody in subjection under you? See? So again, it says, ask of me, and I shall give thee the heathen for thine inheritance and the uttermost parts of the earth for thy possession. See? Thou shalt break them with a rod of iron. Yeah, and once we have you in captivity, we're going to bust you up, man, just like you dealt with us. Matter of fact, I'm going to go back there, but let me grab some real quick. But see, this thing is about justice, man. See, the Lord wouldn't be just if the so-called white man got off the hook. See? This is the book of Obadiah. I go straight to the point. The 15th verse. It says, for the day of the Lord is near upon all the heathen. There go that word heathen again. We just read in Psalms, the 2nd chapter, okay, where the Lord said, ask of me and I shall give you the heathen for your possession. That's the other nations, starting with Esau. See? It says, for the day of the Lord is near upon all the heathen. As thou hast done, it shall be done unto thee. You see that? Thy reward shall return upon thine own head. See that? So as you have done, it's going to be done to you. And what have you done to us? First and foremost, you led us into captivity, man. That's why you're going to go into captivity. See? And that's justice right there. See that? So back in Psalms chapter 2 and verse 9, thou shalt break them with a rod of iron. Thou shalt dash them in pieces like a potter's vessel. See? And this is reiterated in the book of Revelation, because you might have someone to say, well, you know what? That was the cruel God of the Old Testament, you know, versus the more kind, gentler, sweet Jesus of the New Testament. Well, let's go to the New Testament. This is Revelation, the 2nd chapter, and the 26th verse. Starting at the 26th verse, it says, and he that overcometh and keepeth my works unto the end, to him will I give power over the nations. You see that theme, the coming theme right there, man. Power over the nations, power over the heathens, meaning they're going to be in subjection under us, man. Okay? It says, and he shall rule them with a rod of iron. See, we just read that in Psalms. As the vessels of a potter shall they be broken to shivers, see, even as I received of my Father. And when did he receive that? Well, we just read it in Psalms, the 2nd chapter. So this is the inheritance. This is the reward of those who diligently seek after Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua. You're going to have slaves, man. And no matter how much you devils want to suppress this information, you know, you want to somehow muffle, distort history. Well, guess what? By no means is this going to acquit you, man. In no wise you're going to be acquitted for the atrocities and crimes you committed. And there's no way possible that slavery, which is an entity that was created by Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua, is somehow going to just go away. No. Once we come from out of this house of bondage, you nations, starting with the so-called white man, is going to occupy the house of bondage. See that? So yeah, I just wanted to touch on that, Lord willing. It was edifying. Till the next time I say shalom.